Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. If you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up or commenting below. If you want to see more of my videos, press the subscribe button and click on the bell for notifications. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products to make these cards, you can visit my online store and the link is in the description box below. When you purchase Stampin' Up! Products through me, you can earn free products. Check out my current customer appreciation products on my blog, and the link is also listed below in the description. Today, I'd like to share with you a Father's Day layout idea with two different variations using two different stamp sets to give you either a beach-loving Father's Day card or a woods-loving Father's Day card. Now, the main stamp set that I'm using is A Good Man, and I really love all the imagery in this stamp set. It's perfect for Father's Day or for any occasion where you're celebrating the man or men in your life. So you can see here that I've used both the imagery and greetings from that stamp set, and then just changed the background to fit the personal style of the person you're giving this to. So we've got a beachy theme and a woods camping theme. So let's go ahead and get started making these cards. The first thing we're going to start with is this background piece here. Now the final dimension is 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. So for my camping Father's Day card, we're going to be stamping that with the Mountain Air stamp set. And then for my beach Father's Day card, I'm using 2 pieces from the Sand and Sea Designer Series paper. This one is 2 3/4 inches by 4 1/4, and it's the sandy pattern. And this piece is 1 1/2 inches by 4 1/4, and it's got the water kind of feel to it. The back has the dots, just so you know which piece I'm using. So to create this background, it's pretty simple. You're just going to tear the watercolor piece on one side, just kind of give it a fun look, and we're going to attach it to the bottom of this piece here. Just like that. So that piece is done there. So for our camping Father's Day card, I'm going to be using 4 different ink colors to create the background. I've got Memento ink, Smoky Slate, and those 2 are for the mountain range, then Mossy Meadow for the ground and trees, and then Balmy Blue. So let's go ahead and start with the mountain range. One of the interesting things about the Mountain Air stamp set is that you can stamp both the detailed side and the back side to give you some different images for your mountain scene. We're going to begin with Memento black ink and the detailed side of the mountain range image. I am going to be using the Stampin' Up! Pierce Mat underneath my cardstock so that I can get a nice clean image. So I'm just going to start by inking this up in the Memento black ink, and then stamping that right in the center of my basic white cardstock. Nice even pressure. Next, you're going to want to make sure that you clean your stamp before flipping it over and using the solid back for the rest of the mountain range. And we're going to stamp that in Smoky Slate ink. The first one we're going to do is full ink, and you just want to slide it over slightly so that the mountain peaks are not centered. Then the second one we're going to do is we're going to do the stamp off, stamp on technique. And so you ink it up, stamp off, and then we're going to stamp on our cardstock. And we want this to be higher, and again, just slightly over, to create a different mountain peak range in the background. So you'll get something that looks like this. Next, we're going to stamp the tree line, and we're going to begin with the detailed side first, and we're stamping in Mossy Meadow. And this is going to go about halfway in that open area at the bottom. And then you'll want to clean your stamp again before flipping it over and using the back side. So now we've got the solid backside, and we're inking that up in Mossy Meadow, and we're going to do the stamp off, stamp on again. So we'll stamp off, and then we're going to bring it up and fill in this white space here at the top. And then if you have any little openings like this and you want to fill it in again, just kind of slide it over and do another stamp. So you don't need to necessarily re-ink to kind of fill in those white spaces. So our next step is to add some balmy blue for this guy and fill in a little bit of the white space with some Mossy Meadow. So you're still going to have your Mossy Meadow ink open, and you're going to have, with a blending brush, add a little ink to it, and then blend out until you have a nice soft green, and then blend that into the bottom area of your background. And then we're going to do the same thing with balmy blue. We're going to use a blending brush with a little blue ink, and then blend that out until you have a nice soft color, and then blend that into the sky and the top of the mountain range. Then with the cloud image, and I've got the detailed image first, I'm going to stamp a couple clouds above the mountains in balmy blue, just full strength here. And then I'm going to clean that and flip it over and do a couple stamped off, stamped on with the solid side. So stamp off and then stamp on. And it doesn't need to be exact where my clouds are. They can be off-centered a little bit. And so our background is now ready for our card. So we're now going to color in the stamp from the A Good Man stamp set. And I'm just stamping it with Memento black ink, and then I'm going to color it with Stampin' Up! Blend markers. And you could use any color markers that you want that go well with the card you're making. And I'll just kind of walk you through my steps on coloring in this guy. So I've got the ivory and the bronze blend markers, and I'm going to use these for the skin color tones of this man. And I'm going to do ivory first, and then I'll add some shadows with the bronze. So with the fine tip of the bronze, just go in and add a little shadow here and there. Okay, so it looks something like that. And then you can color in the shorts and shirt however you want. I want to match my card, so I'm using Mossy Meadow for the shorts and Balmy Blue for the shirt. And I'm going to start both with the light color and then go in afterwards and use the dark for shadows. So you'll get something that looks like that. And then for the hat, I'm going to use So Saffron in dark and then a little bit of ivory for the shadows. And that kind of just gives it that straw hat kind of look that I'm wanting. And then the chair I wanted to keep really basic. So I'm using some smoky slate, the light color, and I'm just going to use the fine tip and color in the chair all one color. So you'll end up with something that looks like this. And then I'm going to fussy cut this out. But I did want to remove some of these white areas that are inside the chair. So I'm using an X-Acto knife and some chipboard, and I'm just going to go in here and remove a couple areas of white before I fussy cut it, because the paper is stronger as a big piece before I start to cut it up and make it a little weaker. So I'm going to use the X-Acto knife first and then fussy cut out the rest of the image. So you'll end up with something that looks like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and put some of these cards together. For my camping card, I wanted the background to have some fun texture, and so I used the Bark 3D embossing folder on some Sahara Sand Cardstock that's been cut to 4 by 5 1/4 inches, and I'm just going to add that to a Sahara Sand card base with some liquid glue, and there should just be a nice border around that. And then I like to smooth out that glue by opening up my card and using my bone folder on the inside to just make sure it's nice and smooth. Then we'll add our background piece with a little liquid glue as well. Remember, don't use too much liquid glue. It can warp your cardstock. So this is just going to go right in the center of our card. And again, the bone folder to smooth out that glue. And then with the coordinating Majestic Mountain dies, I have cut out 2 pine trees, one in Mossy Meadow and one in Old Olive. And I've cut them out using the sticky adhesive sheets. And so it's really easy to now apply this to my card. So the Mossy Meadow one goes in, and it's about 1 inch or so from the edge. And then the Old Olive one will go on the left side in front. So just go ahead and remove that adhesive sheet. It's so much easier than trying to add glue dots or liquid glue to these really delicate dies. And this one goes a little lower and just off to the left. And then we've got our guy that we have colored and cut out. And I'm going to add him with some dimensionals just so he stands out from the card a little bit. And he's going to be placed right in front of the trees. Then his feet can kind of come down off of that background, so he has a little more presence on the card. And then I've stamped my greeting on some crushed Curry Cardstock and cut it out with a 1 1/4 inch circle. And I'm going to add some adhesive. And then with about 8 inches of the natural twine, I'm going to go ahead and do a faux bow on the back. So add that to the back, make sure it's going the direction you want, and then just wrap that back and forth to create a bow look. And then you're just going to add a dimensional over that. I'm going to do a big one just to hold the twine in place. And then that goes off to the left, just like that. And that card is all done. And then for our beach card, it's very similar. I wanted to have a fun texture in the background, and so I used the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder on Sahara Sand. It's the same size. It's 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I'm going to add it to my card base of Sahara Sand with some liquid adhesive on the back. And then I've got our background piece that we created with Designer Series paper, the Sand and Sea. And then I have stamped and cut out some images from the Friends Are Like Seashells stamp set and the coordinating Seaside seashell dies. So I'll just walk you through how I created each piece. So with some Mossy Meadow cardstock, I cut out this shape right here and just kind of trimmed it down so that I could place that behind our images. And then just with a little bit of liquid adhesive in a couple areas, I'm going to go ahead and add that. Now I'm just thinking here that I could have also used the adhesive sheets for this, and that would have been a great idea as well. So that just kind of comes up in the left-hand corner. A little couple of them can kind of come off out of that background piece there if you want. Then with this sand dollar, I created a watercolor wash with Sahara Sand and Mossy Meadow, and then stamped in Sahara Sand and cut out with the coordinating die. And then with a Sahara Sand sponge dauber, I just added some texture to the top. And then we're just going to add that right underneath our seaweed with the little dot of liquid glue, and that can be right off to the left side. Let's next put down our guy, and he's going to be popped up again with some dimensionals. Just right there off to the side. Then let's add our starfish, and for this piece I just stamped the starfish image on some So Saffron in Sahara Sand, and with a So Saffron sponge dauber just added a little texture, and we're going to add this with a dimensional as well, and that's just going to go down at the bottom of the chair. And then I did stamp and cut out some seaweed. I've stamped on Pear Pizzaz Cardstock with some Mossy Meadow, and then cut out using the coordinating dies. And these are just going to get tucked in behind the starfish. So just a little bit of glue. The taller one will be next to the man. Just kind of tuck that in right behind him. And then the smaller one will be a little lower off to the left of the sand dollar. So you get something that looks like that. Then for the greeting, I've added a dimensional and some adhesive, and that just kind of goes right near the starfish and a little bit over the guy, and you can just tuck that in right there. And then for the bow, I have some braided linen trim in Mossy Meadow, and I just cut 8 inches and then separated the strands and took out 3 strands. Then I tied a bow with that and added some glue dots to the center, and then just kind of slide that in next to the starfish and adhere that there. And then you can trim the ends a little bit to get to the right size for the card. And now that card is all done. I hope you enjoyed watching me create these 2 fun variations for a Father's Day card. If you're interested in getting products, written instructions, or seeing close-up images of these cards, you can visit my blog, creativechelsea.com. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye.